If you want to attack a people, it will be difficult for you. But if you want to attack a man, it's very easy. You shoot him. When you shoot a man, the man dies. But how can you shoot a people? So we as a people can do anything. But I, as an individual, I cannot do very much. I don't have a power. But if we organize, if we network, if we leverage the power of the network, then we can go to places. I know there are some people in Africa that are very rich, but as a people, we are still very poor in terms of how we are able to stand our ground in the world. When the United Nations sit down to decide something, they don't consider us. The reason is, if they don't, nothing will happen. But you see, the other day, Russia decided to attack Ukraine. Until they are still there. You see, usually when things like this happen, the United States plus UK, they will just decide and rally around, or that will join them and say, okay, we are deciding that we are going to veto that issue. They want to attack militarily. It will happen like in the case of Libya. It can happen any day in Africa. But why did they not do it in Ukraine? Why? Because there is an opponent there that is equally sizable. When that man is there, you need to negotiate. Despite the fact that we are very numerous, we are also very resourceful. If we don't leverage our network, which is the power of the group, instead of the power of the individual, we can never make it in the world in terms of being able to hold our position.
Africans in the diaspora, we're also creating legacies for future generation, teaching our kids the art of positive networking. We need to teach them how to network through learning from talking to them about it, telling them the importance of it. You know, it's so important, this networking that we're doing. I mean, when I look at, just looking at you in the audience, looking at your faces, or, you know, I feel a connection. The networking is going on. I feel as if these are my brothers and sisters. You know, we may not look alike, you know, we may speak different languages, but this crosses all of that. And this is the power of networking. This is, you know, when we listen, I always say, listen with your heart. That's a different way to listen. You know, a lot of times people don't really listen to one another. They hear each other, but they don't listen. And when you listen with your heart, you hear something different. You know, the connection is much more powerful. And we're living in times now where we need to really foster that connectedness between us. And networking is one of the best ways to do this. I pass the microphone on.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. That is really very powerful. Yeah, that is it. The networking is the most important thing that we can do right now as a people if we want to be able to stand our ground in the world. Because like I often say here, we are hundreds of millions of people. But until we can work together, until we can have a common front, until we can have a collective interest, let's put it like that, it will be difficult for us to be able to maintain our position in the world. It is not really, you see, the animal that is going to eat an elephant is not even as big as elephant. I don't know if you are paying attention. There are these white dogs that are common in some part of Africa, particularly in the savannah. I think they are also in South Africa. They are just white dogs that are really very wide. No? They can even eat hippopotamus. They can eat elephant. They can eat any type of animal. Sometimes I think they can even kill the lion. I have taken the time to really look at the operation of this. Of course, through multimedia content this day, you can see almost everything, you know. Now, one thing I have come to learn about that is they say old idea of Ubuntu. The same old idea that when you take up a broom, you take just one stick of it, you can break it any day. But there is no person in this world that can break a broom. Nobody can break a broom. If you put the broom together, the only thing that you can do to separate them is to either untie them or literally cut them. You cannot break the broom, but you can break each stick that makes the broom. Now, if you observe those animals, you see that when they want to attack the enemy, they are, I don't know whether they have, anyway, of course they have studied it, because of course they've been doing this for several hundred, maybe millions of years, I don't know, is that they attack from different area, they distract the enemy, and before the enemy knows it, they eat it alive. Now, what does that mean? If you pick one of those white dog before any animal, say maybe for example, a monkey, and maybe the monkey are 2 or 3, depending on the size, they can easily kill that white dog. But because there are many now, they are leveraging the strength of the group, they can take down any enemy. So this is, I'm just trying to say that to mean that despite the fact that we are very numerous, we are also very resourceful. If we don't leverage our network, which is the power of the group, instead of the power of the individual, we can never make it in the world in terms of being able to hold our position. Hello, and thank you for checking out this video. I'm Obehi Ewanfoh, the host of the African Diaspora Storytelling Series. Every 2 weeks, we meet up on LinkedIn to talk about different ways we can leverage the power of storytelling as people of African descent. Now, this is it. We are uniting the millions of Africans in the diaspora through the power of our story. It does sound like what you are interested in. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends who might need it. Now, back to today's conversation. Of course, I know there are some people in Africa that are very rich. There are billions of dollars in their bank. But as a people, we are still very poor in terms of how we are able to stand our ground in the world. When the United Nations sit down to decide something, they don't consider us. The reason is, if they don't, nothing will happen. But you see, the other day, Russia decided to attack Ukraine. Until they are still there. You see, usually when things like this happen, the United States plus his best friend, UK, they will just decide and rally around, or that will join them and say, okay, we are deciding that we are going to veto that issue. They want to attack militarily. It will happen like in the case of Libya. It can happen any day in Africa. But why did they not do it in Ukraine? Why? Because there is an opponent there that is equally sizable. When that man is there, you need to negotiate. You see, Russia and the United States are actually close neighbors. You can literally walk from Russia to the United States. But the United States will never tell Russia, let's fight. Because if the fight was actually what they are looking for, they will fight there. But instead, they will go to fight somewhere. Maybe they will go to fight in Italy or maybe in Germany. What I'm actually saying is that we need to be able to leverage the power of the group. If we do that, then we will be respected in the world. We can take a cue from men like Marcus Garvey. You see, Marcus Garvey managed to organize millions of the diaspora. Suddenly, the United States was afraid. People in the West was afraid. And they need to do everything to break that down. Why? Because when a people organize, they can do anything. Okay, let me explain that. You see, have you ever seen a bridge that was built by a man? I can guarantee that you have never seen any because it doesn't exist. You cannot build a bridge by one man. To build a bridge, you need people. What that also means literally is that a people have different energy. They have different resources. They have different power. They have different capability. That will mean that you have short men, you have tall men, you have slow men, You have smart men and smart women. Of course, by men, I'm also including women. I'm not, okay, I hope you understand what I mean. So that when the time comes, you are going to leverage the energy, all of them put together, then you can do anything. If they get to the mountain and they want to boil a hole on the mountain, a people can do it, but a person cannot do it. I don't know if you are paying attention to the geopolitics that often happens in Africa, no? Is that some of the weak countries, they are very good, but the strongest one that can really make wave, they are not good enough. They are not good at all. They are always in crisis. Now, of course, talking within the politics now again, because that helps us to understand the possibility of that what we can do if we were to organize, no? Is that you have a man that is very, very rich, but all around him, there are a lot of poor people. But this is what they call the idea of the strong man. And there are many in Africa. So that in Africa, we have the people of Africa are weak, but we have some few strong men. Now, that to the African geopolitics is dangerous. Why? If you want to attack a people, it will be difficult for you. But if you want to attack a man, it's very easy. You shoot him. When you shoot a man, the man dies. But how can you shoot a people? If the people in Africa or the people of Africa in the diaspora are organized, no army can stop them. Because if an army stops them, they will literally walk across it. Like a film that was done in the UK, it's called V for Vendetta. When the time of Judgment Day came, the UK army literally organized. They were really many, but the people rose up and they literally walked over them. Because you cannot kill a people, but you can always kill a man. And for African geopolitics, this strong man idea that we are having, like the Pobiyas of the world, it is the time that we take the power from them and put it in the hand of the people. Because the people can literally take the country to wherever they want to take it to. But if it is a person, an individual, you will be invited to France. By the time you make the deal there, everything is okay for you. But for your people, they will remain in their penury. So we as a people can do anything. But I, as an individual, I cannot do very much. I don't have a power. But if we organize, if we network, if we leverage the power of the network, then we can go to places.